Hi everyone, welcome to Hot Springs, Arkansas. Today we're going to be learning about a really cool place that you may not have ever heard of before that adds a lot of rich history to our country and is really interesting geographically. Welcome to Hot Springs! Hot Springs National Park is located in central Arkansas in the Ouachita Mountains. Hot Springs is classified as being in the humid subtropical climate zone, which means that our climate is characterized by very hot summers and brutally cold winters. The city takes its name from the natural thermal water that flows from the 47 springs on the western slope of the Hot Springs Mountain in the historic downtown district of the city. About 1 million U.S. gallons of 143-degree water flow from these springs. The water drips very slowly down through the Earth's surface until it reaches superheated areas deep in the Earth's crust, and then it rushes rapidly to the surface to create the 47 hot springs. Hot Springs National Park. Technically, the first national park. Not really, but kind of. We were made a Federal Reserve in 1832, the first one of its kind, and we received national park status on March 4th, 1921, making us about the 14th to 15th national park in existence. Hot Springs National Park features the 47 Springs, Mountain Valley Spring Water, and the world-famous Bathhouse Row. So, how did these springs come to be? Was it magic? Maybe. As you can see on this map, the yellow dots represent the various springs that exist in this area of Garland County, and the green represents Hot Springs National Park. So what even is a hot spring? Well, according to the National Park System, a hot spring is a hydrothermal spring where warm water or hot groundwater issues from the earth on a regular basis. The water issuing from the hot spring is heated by geothermal heat, which is essentially heat from the Earth's interior. In general, the temperature of rocks increases within the Earth's depth as depth increases. So the rate of temperature increase with depth is known as geothermal gradient, and if the water percolates deeply enough into the crust, it will be heated when it comes in contact with these hot rocks. The water from the hot springs in non-volcanic areas is heated in this system. The hot springs in Hot Springs are 47 hot springs that emerge from Hot Springs Mountain at an average temperature of 143 degrees Fahrenheit. Most of the flow path of this thermal spring is hidden from the human eye and is an intricate path beneath the mountains and valleys of the Ouachita Mountains. The Ouachita Basin is basically this idea of when Arkansas was underwater, and it's how these springs formed. The water used today in the hot springs fell as rain approximately 400,000 years ago. The temperature of the Earth's crust increased with depth, and on average, there's 3 to 5 degrees for every 300 feet down. The water collected is at a maximum depth of somewhere between 4,500 to 6,500 feet. The water temperature on average is 143 degrees Fahrenheit. The total amount of water discharged by these springs is estimated to be about several 100,000 gallons of water each day. So these hot springs, how were they discovered? Where did they come from? And what do we do with them? There, so far, is no physical evidence that Native Americans utilized these springs to the extent of white settlers. However, it is believed that the Caddo tribe, who controlled a lot of the area in early historic times, may have utilized them. On April 20th, in 1820, after years of land disputes between the Quapaw tribe and the United States government, the area was made a federal reserve by President Andrew Jackson, thus beginning the era of the Spa City. The Secretary of the Interior built a hospital, which still exists today as a VA hospital, then decided to use the springs and their quote-unquote healing powers for commercial use, building 8 bathhouses, the last one completed in 1888. The Hot Springs Federal Reserve officially became Hot Springs National Park on March 4th, 1921. Hot Springs is known as the Spa City because of our fantastic bathhouses. The 1920s through the 1940s saw high activity of bathing. We were known as America's first resort, as the hot springs were utilized to kind of create this commercial use of the hot springs throughout these baths. It's described as a hotbed for organized crime such as gambling, prostitution, and bootlegging. But from the late 1800s to the mid-1990s, especially in the 1930s, this area was a hot and popular hangout for Al Capone, Frank Costello, Bugs Moran, Lucky Luciano, and other infamous mobsters. But people came from all over to experience the powerful waters and try to heal themselves of various ailments. And a little fun fact from an Arkansas native: it was believed for many years to be a cure for, yes, you guessed it, syphilis. So, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the bathhouses. So we have 8 bathhouses, and on this slide you can see the Quapaw, the Ozark, the Lamar, and I believe that is the Superior. And these bathhouses are still in use today. So 2 operate as actual bathhouses. One is the visitor center for anybody who is wanting to learn more about the famous hot springs. And then several of them are used for commercial use. That is the Superior bathhouse. Below it is the Hale. On the side is the Buckstaff. And then above that is the Fordyce. And these bathhouses are, Buckstaff is still in use today. Fordyce is used as a little shop. The Hale is used as a romantically cute bed and breakfast, and the Superior is now a bar. And to round out hot springs, we have Mountain Valley Spring Water, which was constructed over one of the springs, and its water delivered everywhere across the United States, right from Hot Springs, Arkansas. Hot Springs is a beautiful place, wonderful place to grow up, and I hope that this lecture inspired you to maybe come and visit us sometime soon.